Hello, everybody. Welcome to the still unentitled John Maffio Staten Island Project, brought to you this week by Film Twitter, because when you want to have a headache and be exhausted for the entire day from bad takes, you go on Twitter and look at film stuff. But today, I want to mention that a little bit later, but first I want to talk about a couple other things. One, we're going to talk about Terminator Dark Fate, because that was the big thing to come out last weekend. Last week, as well as maybe a little bit of talk about a movie that came out called Aladdin. A few movies came out this past weekend. I'm going to see Booksmart soon. I'm also going to see Brightburn at some point. Was supposed to see it a couple days ago with a few friends, and they didn't play the movie. You may have seen if you were on social media, or you follow me on social media, but I went to my local AMC. It's a dine-in that they just recently opened, and the projector broke 3 times when I saw Captain Marvel a couple months ago, and I was like, I'm never going to go there again. But my friend who hasn't been there wanted to go there, so I was going to be like, you know what? It's a regular showing. It's not Dolby or IMAX, and maybe it'll work out better this time. We go to an 11:15 showing. At 11:15, the lights are still fully bright. No trailers, no previews, no nothing. There's us, our group, and a couple other people. Somebody comes out and asks what movie we're seeing. We're seeing Brightburn. Okay, we're going to skip the previews and go right to the movie. Great, awesome. A half hour goes by with nothing. Radio silence. No update, no nothing. We were sitting in a great spot right above the projector. There was somebody in there, but nothing was happening. So you know what we did? We left. And I haven't seen the movie. So AMC lost out on more. They got our money, but we left because, you know what? I don't know. Some AMCs are actually really nice. But our AMC theater at Staten Island, New York sucks. It really sucks. At least in my experience. Apparently some people have better experiences. Good for you guys. I'm glad you guys got the full VIP treatment. For me, though, every time I've gone there, minus the exception of the very first time when I saw Lego Movie 2 in IMAX, I've hated my experience, and I do not want to go there ever again. There's plenty of other options now. We got Regal theaters everywhere, and we got our local family atrium. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just smoking some crazy drugs, and my criticisms are invalid. But right now, I'd rather not go there. But let's talk about Terminator Dark Fate, directed by Tim Miller and produced by James Cameron. James Cameron, he directed the first 2 Terminator movies, and he endorsed Terminator Genisys, which is a movie I do not like. I highly dislike it. But apparently he's really on board with this take. And Tim Miller made Deadpool, which wasn't my favorite superhero movie, but it definitely reached audiences worldwide. And people, casual audiences love it. The hardcore nerds love it. I really enjoyed it. And it's seeing Tim Miller get on board Terminator gives it a little more weight, because the guy knows how to make a movie. And it seems like they're going back to the tone of the original 2 movies, where it's a little dark and grittier, this world, and you really feel the stakes of the mission at hand. And there is a mission at hand, apparently. It takes place in Mexico. But the trailer didn't do it for me. I was actually pretty curious to see how they were going to portray this trailer, because it could have been really great. You could have had the Terminator music. You could have had a lot going on here that really brought audiences back into, wow, I have to see a Terminator movie. And they didn't do that. Instead, they had a somber song playing in the background with some action sequences. You got a shot of Arnold Schwarzenegger being downplayed a little bit, and some Sarah Connor action with Linda Hamilton returning, which is one of the more redeeming qualities of the possibilities of this movie, how good it could possibly be, because they got Linda Hamilton back. And I haven't seen her in a movie in years. So, also, where's John Connor? We know Eddie Furlong has had problems in real life, but why isn't he in the movie story-wise? Probably because he's dead. Whether he died right after the end of Judgment Day, or he passed away at some point, or he's just a junkie in the movie too. He's probably dead, because if he wasn't dead, he would be part of the resistance, and he would be fighting with his mother, right? Unless we're not getting part of the story, which we might not be. But I think chances are, gambling money, chances are he's dead. I want to be excited for Dark Fate. As much as I hate that subtitle because it's such a generic title, I want to be excited for Terminator. I really do. But I can't help but not, because this trailer didn't do it for me. I think the next trailer, they're probably going to go guns blazing, pun not intended, but I guess intended also, because if you want to get butts in seats, you want to play that do 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 do. You want to get those action beats with Arnold, if he's in these action sequences in the movie, and I don't know. I just think Paramount they didn't drop the ball, but they didn't do anything to at least impress me. And it doesn't seem like they really impressed a lot of other people either, based on what I've seen online. I have confidence and faith in this movie, I really do, but we'll have to see what happens. Um, it's one of those things where they made Rise of the Machines, Terminator 3. I saw that in theaters with my father and my brother, and I really liked it. I still like it. I think it drags a lot, but I think where it ultimately ends up is great. I love that ending. It's so sadistic and evil, but it makes sense. Um, and then you have Terminator Salvation, which was a big movie back in 2009. At least I had the hype for it. They made a roller coaster out of it in Magic Mountain, Six Flags, and it was a big deal. And then the movie came out, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't that good. A great cast in it. It had Anton Yelchin, Christian Bale, um, Sam Worthington, right off, almost off the heels of Avatar. This came out before Avatar. But this is when they were trying to say, Hollywood was trying to tell you, this is the guy. This is the guy you want to see. And he was good in it. A lot of great actors. Just the execution of the story was fine, and didn't really do anything to really wow people. They wanted to make like a big trilogy out of this, and it didn't happen. And then we got Genesis 6 years later. It was either 2015 or 2014. I'm forgetting right now in the moment as I make this podcast. And again, a great cast. But ultimately didn't do much. It was a decent movie. I wouldn't call it a fun movie because it wasn't that fun for me. But it got weird in the story. It did some interesting things that got spoiled in trailers, and that's really it. It's been forgotten about since. It's even nobody I know talks about it. When people talk about Terminator, they talk about Terminator 1, Terminator 2, and sometimes Terminator 3. I never hear anybody talk about any of the movies elsewhere. And this movie is doing the Halloween thing where it's retconning all the sequels minus 2 anyway, so what's the point of talking about those other movies now? The only thing, though, is that if you're a casual audience member, you don't know this stuff. You don't know they're retconning these other Terminator movies, so you're just going in there and you might be confused. But I guess it makes sense. Logically, if you're trying to be serious with the storytelling, you would skip over these other sequels that nobody really cared for and go right from the last movie that people really delved into, which was 1991's T2, which is a great sequel and a great movie, one of my favorite action movies of all time. I am curious, but the trailer didn't do anything for me. It just basically announces that this movie exists and it's coming out in a few months, and you should get ready for it. Again, same thing with this movie. I love the cast. A lot of great actors in this, but I don't know, that antagonist that looks like a T-1000, but a little more it's like there's a new coat of paint on him in terms of like the I don't know what you call it, like the liquid, the liquid, the thing. Like it doesn't do anything for me. It's the same thing. It's unless they're hiding a lot of their stuff, but you want to get people excited, and this wasn't the way to do it. From there, let's talk about no transition there. A lot of, you know what? I have a transition. There was some shoddy special effects in this trailer too, and you know who else had some shoddy special effects? Aladdin. Although I did make a really critical transition, I do want to say that right off the bat that I actually enjoyed Aladdin. It wasn't good per se, but I enjoyed my time in the theater. I went in the middle of the afternoon, so there wasn't that many people in the theater, so I didn't really have that communal Disney experience of everybody cheering and singing during like the musical acts and renditions. But I had a good time watching this movie. My big problems with the movie come with a couple of the performances. Mostly the actor who plays Jafar, even though I liked where they were going with Jafar's story in this one, as well as, I don't know, just the unnecessary nature of it. I mean, all these live-action remakes that Disney's making are very unnecessary. There's no need for them. They're only here to pull on your nostalgia strings and make money. But a couple of them have proven differently, like Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella, which also plug in for Noah Villanverde. I did a podcast with him recently, and I'll link it down below if you want to listen to it, where we did talk about Disney's Aladdin 2019 and also just this whole new renaissance of live action remakes they're doing. But yeah, I just think they didn't do much to blow me away. Guy Ritchie directed this, and he's a pretty capable director and doing his own thing. This movie didn't really do its own thing. There's a couple moments where it does very overtly do its own thing and go into a Guy Ritchie direction. It's like slow few moments where the camera slows down and then zooms in on a facial expression and then zooms back out. There's another moment where the camera like pans back and forth really quickly, like a sitcom, like. And other than that, it's basically just a shot for shot, not shot for shot. I keep retconning what I say, but it's basically exactly what you'd expect from a live action version of Disney's Aladdin from 1992. I wasn't blown away either by A Whole New World. I liked very much so all the other iterations of the classic songs they did here, but Whole New World just didn't do it for me. I almost cried, but only because of the gravitas of the song itself, which is credited to the songwriters of that song and the performances from Naomi Scott and Mina Massoud, not like the people who made this movie. But the actual sequence itself didn't do much for me. It didn't really sell the nature of that song and what it represents to me. But I think the performances of said actors, respectively mentioned before, brings it into what it's supposed to be, and it sells it. But it didn't. Also, besides that, it didn't do it for me. The best thing I can say about this movie, though, is that it just, for anybody who hasn't seen Aladdin 1992, especially kids who are growing up now in the 21st century, it incites and entices families to want to watch the animated movie with their kids. There's like, you could be like, well, we're going to see this movie, and then we're going to watch the original when we get home, because we haven't watched it before. Or maybe you're showing them the animated one before you watch the new one, just so they can be educated on it. But it's the best thing that these movies can do right now is just introduce kids into the world of these Disney movies so that they can watch the originals afterwards, if that's the case. But on their own, they're novelty items that are fun in the theater but don't do much else. What I will say about this movie is that it gives me the most I'm trying to find the word here. I have trouble sometimes finding the word, but I would have the least amount of trouble revisiting this movie out of all the other remakes that I've seen. Cinderella I really liked in the theater, and it does its own thing, but I wouldn't watch it again. Beauty and the Beast does it's exactly what you expect, but it's very mediocre and flat and fine. I would never watch it again. I'd rather watch the anime movie, which is the best thing. Jungle Book, I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters, but I would watch it again. This, I would watch again. If it was on TNT or HBO or on Disney Plus later this year and there's nothing else to watch, I would watch it again because I had that much of a good time with it. But I wouldn't, like, run out the door to buy the Blu-ray or watch it, like, right now. I had a good time with it, and that's it. I think it does a couple things differently. There's a new song by Naomi Scott's Jasmine in this movie. My only problem with the song is that it kind of stops the movie to be introduced. But once it's introduced in context of the movie, I like it. It just kind of feels like it's there to serve an agenda and not be part of the movie. But you can also look at it the other way where it does service the movie story. I feel like they kind of just stop the movie and be like, hey, big female moment, Jasmine, take it away. Where it could have been, I think it could have been incorporated into the way the story was going through in a more fleshed out and fluid way. I think it kind of just stops the pacing of the movie just so we can have this moment. That's not a bad thing. It's a really good song. I love the song. It's just I think in context of the movie, it could have been executed better. Will Smith as the genie, I think, is really good. I think he had the most attention and negative like going into the movie based on the marketing material, but he does really good. He brings his hip-hop sensibilities to the role. Not that much, but when he can, like Friend Like Me, it really comes and shines through. There's a lot of the performance I didn't expect him to do. Some of the CGI is really creepy. There's a couple moments with him that are nightmare fuel for children. That's aside from the point. I think Will Smith does a great job of bringing this character to life. And the way they introduce him, he's in the I can't say it without spoiling it. Um, but the way they introduced the genie before they introduced the genie. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. He's in a scene before the scene, and I think it's a great way to bring people into watching the movie again because they add an extra layer to the genie and bringing him into the fold with another new character, and also the way they wrap up the story, it kind of like makes it a revolving door. So that if you ever return to it, it's almost like watching somebody retell the story of Aladdin, and I really like the way they did that. Um, in I, what's the actress's name? There's a handmaiden who works for Jasmine, and she's played by an actress who was on SNL. Nasim Pedrad. She plays Dahlia. She's really good in this movie, and her chemistry with Will Smith, I really enjoyed. I liked Will Smith with Mina Masad too. Aladdin and the genie were really great together. Um, and Jafar's the biggest problem. Jafar, they do something with him where he's not the over the top, um, spectacle like crazy villain that he was in the original, and he's one of the best villains in animated history. In this, they kind of make him like the what am I trying to say here? He's like the antithesis of Aladdin. He's the if Aladdin went rogue and went fully rogue and became somebody who got into a position of power, but for all the wrong reasons. But he used to be a thief, like Aladdin, and I like what they did with him. There are a couple scenes where Aladdin and Jafar interact where I like their interaction because it brings a little more depth to his character. But overall, the performance is pretty weak. And I think I blame that more on the screenwriting and the directing than the actor himself because I've heard he's pretty good. Um, and I know it's hard. You mention it more and more these days because film criticism it's tough to criticize a performance because these people work really hard at what they do. Um, but in my opinion, I think he's the weakest part of the movie, and it sucks to say that, but it is one of those things where it is what it is, and I'm sure some people might like him in the role of the movie, because a lot of the movie is a more grounded approach. Even though there are very fantastical elements to the movie, I think he's the most grounded part. They still give him like the over the top costume and his Cobra staff, but he feels the most grounded. But overall, it's not really that much else to say. It's what you would expect if you're a fan of Disney and you're a fan of the animated movies. I think it's a must see. I wouldn't rush out to see it, but if you have family members who want to see it and you want to have a good time in the theater, a harmless good time, you're almost guaranteed that here. You're gonna enjoy the musical numbers. You're gonna walk out of the movie probably singing one or more of them, and you're gonna. I mean, as much as I enjoyed the movie, but I didn't come away thinking it was a good movie. I still had those songs in my head, and I immediately wanted to watch the original animated movie. So again, like I mentioned before, it's a great movie in the sense that it brings a call back to the one that we all know, and it gives you a reason to want to revisit that other movie. But you can't go wrong with this one. I understand why he's making a lot of money in the box office right now is because it's familiar, but it's fun. Disney does that best right now, and I think they're going on a better path now of introducing something that's familiar but also diverting in ways too. I wish they would make like just completely different movies, but I get that you want to have an audience be satisfied so you can get your money. I get that, but at the same time, I wish they did a little bit more. But for my money's worth, I would definitely watch this again. And if you're a fan of Disney and the original Aladdin, you can't go wrong with this. I would definitely go see it in the theater. Go bring friends, bring family, bring people with you, because there's no way you're not gonna have a good time with this. If you're all fans of Aladdin or fans of Disney in general, it gets you in the spirit. It gets you nostalgic. You might cry once or twice, and at the end of the day, it's worth it. If you're not a fan of Disney, though, there's no reason for you to see this. If you're not a fan of these animated movies, you're just gonna be you're not gonna be cynical about it anyway. When you leave the theater, you're just gonna be like, Disney bone everything. They didn't make a lot. Just avoid the conversation and discourse altogether, and just don't see it. You'll be happy you didn't see it. And to end this conversation, I want to talk about film Twitter, only because it's been so relevant in the sense that it's exhausting, and I mentioned it before how exhausting it could be. For anybody who doesn't know, basically what I mean by film Twitter, it's a very general sense of the word. Because on Twitter, which could be a very dangerous social media platform, people talk about movies, and that's where film Twitter comes. It's people who discuss movies on Twitter, and it's been the conversation on Twitter for a while now about the whole Captain Marvel feminism thing. People hate Brie Larson and la-di-da-di-do, and also we're talking about Booksmart right now because people are urging people to see Booksmart in theaters, which I'm gonna see it tomorrow finally. But I've had a busy weekend, and there's a whole thing now because the Russo brothers tweeted out that people should go see Avengers for a fourth or fifth time, because it's been in theaters for 4 or 5 weeks now, and people are turning it on the Russo brothers. Why would they promote their own movie when they can promote movies, smaller indie movies like Booksmart or High Life or whatever it might be? But people making them look like out to be bad guys because they're promoting their movie, which is stupid in my opinion. But there are so many bad takes on film Twitter, people talking about things and trying to turn into a political agenda or a feminist agenda or whatever agenda it may be. And I'm not the smartest person in the room, I know that, but it's exhausting that we can't just enjoy things anymore. You can't just come out of a movie and saying, I enjoyed Aladdin. You have to be like, it has to be a whole thing. Depending on what position in life you're in, if you're an actor or a director, or if you're just a person, if you're a politician, a real politician, there's so much that goes into things now, and people can't just come out of a movie and be like, I enjoyed it. It's either I enjoyed it because, or I didn't enjoy it because. And people have to add diversity angles to things when there isn't any diversity angles. People like to make problems where there aren't problems. Especially, like, that happens everywhere. But because I like talking about movies, that's why I'm talking about movie aspects of it, because people like to just stir the pot. And I really dislike the fact that this happens, because I go on Twitter and I go on there to get my news and get takes and just discussions from people that I really enjoy following. And I everybody I follow for a reason, because I enjoy them. But I also get all these bad takes because people are responding to them because they're bad takes. So I also see what other people are saying, and it's just exhausting. And in a way, Twitter is it's intoxicating, but it's also poisoning, because it's in a way it's ruining film criticism, and it's also ruining the idea of watching a movie or entertainment piece. You can't just watch anything anymore and just consume it and then that's it. It has to be a whole thing behind it, and that weight could be very overwhelming. And I don't know. I don't have a take on this whole situation, but I just wish people would be more positive. That's it. I just wish people would go online and be like, I saw this movie and I really enjoyed it. I think you should go see it. Instead of being like, you need to see this because this, and this, and if you don't see it, you're not a fan of movies. If you don't see Booksmart, if you don't see Booksmart, then you hate women and you hate everything and you're a menace to society. It's like, whoa, calm down. Not everybody has the money or the time to go see these indie movies, and it's really sad. I see a lot of discussions on that, and it's times are changing. It's hard for people to go out and see movies every week or all the time. People have families, have jobs, have lives, and people have to relegate their time to certain things. And if they want to go see Avengers or these big movies, that's what they're gonna do, because those are the movies people look forward to these days. It sucks. But a lot of indie movies are struggling now because of the streaming services, because all these small movies people watch them on Netflix. But when a small movie comes in theaters, you want to support them. But not everybody is aware of these things. So when people put a political spin behind that, it sucks, because that's not why. For in the reason of Booksmart, which I'm so excited to see. But a lot of people don't see them because they don't know. My parents don't know about it. I could tell them about it too, but they'll be like, "Well, wait till we see it, along the way." It's not easy to hear that. But for those of you who are in the film industry or people who follow film, we do what we can. We support these movies, and that's all we could really do. We support them. We bring the word of mouth, and hopefully they have a life of their own going forward after that. But yeah, I guess that's it from now. I will talk more about it with somebody. Again, I don't have any guests yet, but when I have a guest, if anybody wants to talk about the state of film Twitter, I would love to. What do you guys think about my discussions today about Terminator, about Aladdin, or about the crazy agendas of the world on social media platforms? It could be in music or in life or anything. Let me know anything down in the comments down below. Let me know what you want to discuss, what I want to discuss next week. If you have any suggestions down below, just sound the bell, ring that bell, and let me know. Hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend. Hope you enjoyed and chowed down on food. Hope you were safe. Drink responsibly. And have a great rest of your week. I will see you guys next week with more movie news. And it's been real. Deuces, love you all. And I'll see you soon.